Most people don't make it online because they chase the wrong thing. I personally lost a lot of momentum by chasing the wrong things, but I rebuilt myself. I rebuilt myself and my business to 35K in dollars per month with just my phone, my story, and a relentless mindset. Those are the only three things you need. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact journey, my own journey from 0 to 35K per month, and the lessons that I've had along the way that have actually made the difference. So where did it all begin? I used to work in the insurance industry in London, absolutely hated what I was doing, and this was obviously just like the classic office job. I didn't like it at all, and I was told this is the path. Like when you're growing up, you're always told like this is what you want to be doing. If you are from the UK or any other Western country, it's that's sort of what you're told. Like that's the right thing to do, and it ended up not being for me. Right, I was a really energetic young guy entering the office. I didn't go to university. I just went straight into a job after doing like a short business course, and I was super fired up. I still had like that young energy inside me going into that office environment, but I soon realised that everyone was just depressed. It was so depressing, and my energy was just getting squashed. And I saw this happen in another guy that then joined like shortly after me, who was actually a similar age, which was quite unusual for the job that I was in because it was usually like a lot of older people who had been to uni and stuff like that. And I saw the same thing happen to him, but he went like completely off the rails. He lost his mindset quite a lot and ended up quitting and falling down quite a dark path. But luckily, like that didn't happen to me. But I could definitely feel my energy being squashed. It really was, and there was like a lot of anxiety there, which wasn't normal for me. I thought it was like just a lack of confidence, but it was actually, I think, more so the realization that I was falling into this trap. I was falling into this trap, and the same thing happened to that guy that joined the job shortly after me. He like realized, oh shit, this is actually all it is. I remember him asking loads of questions like, oh my God, like, do you guys enjoy this and stuff like that? And I think he just realized like he'd been working, for his whole life to get to this point, and that was it. And that's the point I was in as well. Like just the realization that, oh, my God, I can actually be stuck in this. Like this is what people's lives are. And then COVID saved me. It did save me, to be honest. I know it was not a great time for a lot of people, but it saved me. It was probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I'm very grateful that it happened. Like the things that happened during COVID happened to me. My change in mindset was really powerful in that time, and it was just that sort of like that point in my past to be able to make that change. So it was just that good powerful moment for me. So during COVID, what happened is I kept up with my job a little bit because it was all online, pretty easy. And then essentially I just said enough's enough. I was getting pretty bored of this now. So in 2023 I started my coaching business. Obviously this is, I think, pretty sure that's like shortly after COVID now. But yeah, 2023 started my business, but during COVID I even just stopped my working altogether. I was like super dialed in on CrossFit at the time and really focusing on that. And then basically I started to get my PT qualifications, thought I was going to be an in-person personal trainer, but the end goal for me was to go online and have my own business. But I didn't think that was going to be possible, right at the start. But I saw a mentor online that I'd be following sort of say about people going straight from their corporate job to, online personal coaching. And I was like, oh, wow, from scratch, like, oh, can I really do that? So ended up signing up for that. And then I just treated Instagram like a business, not just like a highlight reel, like lifestyle sort of thing that everyone does nowadays. Obviously, there is a place for the lifestyle stuff, but you need to be treating it like a business instead. The lifestyle part, of course, like that's important, don't get me wrong, but it's because it's playing its part in that business model. You need to be focusing on making offers, sharing client results, and just showing the truth, like showing the truth about your life as well, being open about things that you've struggled with in the past, and just make sure you're doing that consistently, not just like one-off posting when you want to do it. Make sure you're doing that consistently. That's so important. I really dialed in on one niche, helping people lose weight, and specifically then tailoring it more to people that have tried more like restrictive things before. So that's what we focused on, helping people just transform their life physically, mentally, body, mindset. And it was a grind, but slowly I did build to 15K per month in dollars in that first year, just through organic leads, like purely through organic leads, no ads at that point. And it was a grind. It was a bit of a grind, but I absolutely loved it. So it didn't feel like something that was a really hard grind or anything like that. I had that fear inside of me of not wanting to go back to the office job and like completely dreading that. So I was loving what I was doing. I was waking up, just loving what I did every single day, and I do the same thing right now. And it was just like having that purpose in me, that drive to want to achieve those goals was extremely powerful. As I said, I signed up for this mentorship. I had a really, really good one-to-one mentor on that, and he was very, very good. And 6 months, I didn't really see much, to be honest. I didn't really see much money at all. I would think I was like even under like £800 per month for that first like 6 months. I didn't get any clients for like 4 months. And bear in mind, I was starting from scratch, hadn't even been on the gym floor. So the end of that year though, it like completely skyrocketed from like month 7, 8 to the end of the year. It completely skyrocketed. So the systems that I've been focusing on had all of a sudden compounded, and things just exploded. And then I was at $15K per month by the end of that year, just because I trusted in the process. I believed in it. I stuck to the daily actions that aligned with that future version of myself, and stuck with it, trusted the process, trusted my mentor at the time, because I had someone ahead of me that was guiding me and that believed in me, and he'd done it, and it just made it all seem possible to me. So that was a really pivotal year, first of all, in my journey. And then for year 2, so bear in mind, first month of year 1, like I just started from scratch. And then year 2, I had this business doing $15K per month. And then I was going to Thailand. I was initially going to go to Thailand for a month, just, sort of live that digital nomad lifestyle. But then I decided to actually go on a longer trip. Someone said to me like, oh, why don't you go for a bit longer? And I was like, oh yeah, why not? It was a weird feeling for me because I was used to having a job and, obviously being at school and stuff before that. I was like, only really thought I could do small trips. But then I was like, oh, I can actually work from anywhere. And that was such a weird feeling, just feeling that for the first time. So I went traveling, and this is when I realized you can have both. You can have a really successful business, and have that freedom to be wherever you want in the world. And admittedly, this wasn't a time for me like really growing the business. Obviously, I still was really, loving what I do and was doing, and I was still, obviously working a decent amount, but I wasn't like pushing it too much. I was still enjoying myself and really having a good time, seeing so much of the world. My business did go to like 18, 19K in dollars per month, and it just sort of stayed there. It just plateaued there, but that was okay. For 6 months, I was seeing the world. I didn't go traveling before. When some people around me were going traveling and stuff. So I saw that as like a life experience as well. That was really valuable time for me. And at this point, I only had one team member. It was just me and one team member helping me. And this was just a big turning point for me, realizing that I could, do it. I could do it. I could escape almost like that matrix that people talk about. And it is okay to stay there. It's completely okay to stay there, guys. I'm not talking about Thailand. I'm talking about that stage of the business. Like earning around 18K per month dollars. Like that's a really good amount. Like that's enough for most people. Obviously, for me now, I am pushing, really hard and getting to that next level. Obviously last month we did 35K. So that's my goal right now, is to push a lot more. But for most people, like if you do want to stay there with like minimal team members, you can have a really, really good life with that amount of money. So for some people, that's all they want to do, and that's absolutely fine. And I did have a really good time doing that. And this is what I want you guys to achieve. At least, you know, get to that point where you're not working for someone else. You do have your own thing and you're free in that sense, and at least you've got then the freedom to choose, like, right, okay, do I want to sort of stay around here, or do I really want to push to that next level? So all throughout this time, I was on another mentor though, another mentorship. I was on the next mentorship that I joined, and it had some good systems in. It really did. It had some good systems, but it didn't have like the same amount of one-to-one accountability from someone that was actually ahead of me, like I did on the first mentorship. And obviously I was sort of at a different level now, so I understand this mentorship that I joined, maybe they can't get like one-to-one coaches within that are earning, you know, more than the members within the coaching, because they would have to pay them a lot of money. So it doesn't really work like that with like a big mentorship. That's why now I only take advice from someone that's actually ahead of me, whereas it was a little bit weird for like that year. Actually, I stayed with that mentorship for a year. I was taking advice from someone that was actually behind me in business and didn't really understand the problems I was facing. But there we go, you know, we live and we learn. But I didn't have any like of that one-to-one touch of things and that advice, and I was focusing on the wrong things. So that's why, obviously, yes, I was traveling, but I didn't really grow as much as, you know, I would have wanted to. I sort of plateaued around that same mark. What did happen though, guys, is when I was traveling, I had a big realization when I came back from this, is that the game is the goal. Like, that is the point. Like, the point is the process. The point isn't the outcome. And that's something I've fully dived into recently, and just really appreciated, and made me realize, like, actually what I needed in my life is to love the process. And this is what people talk about this all the time, but it's really important to know that you need to love what you do every day and learn to love the process. And people used to say that to me all the time, and I used to be like, shut up, what are you talking about? You know, it's easy for you to save loads of money and stuff, but it's so true. You need to love what you do, because otherwise you're going to get to the end and you're going to think, oh, what's next? But if you love the journey, it makes getting to that destination so much easier. So traveling really made me realize this. It made me realize that I need that purpose. I need to be making progress. You know, we're goal-oriented creatures. We need to be progressing towards something. We need to have that discipline, have that routine, and that is what brings freedom along with it, by making sure all these things are there. And I'm not just, when I talk about freedom, I'm not just talking about location. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about financial freedom, and also, obviously, those three people talk about all the time. And I'm a massive believer of all those three as well, that we should be striving towards those. But also, there's a fourth one that not a lot of people talk about, which I believe is that mental freedom. You need to feel mentally good. And what this comes down to is that real winners aren't just addicted to results, like, they are addicted to the process, like I'm speaking about. So just think about that. Like, how can you learn to love the process? What within your process aren't you enjoying right now? And we need to create solutions to that, because the goal isn't earning 50k per month. It's becoming the person who earns that, and then the person that keeps earning it. So you need to become that person if you're actually going to achieve that result, guys. So that's something I really want you to think about. The next thing I want to talk about is discipline. I think discipline equals freedom as well. Peace doesn't come from holidays or money or anything like that. It comes from knowing that you're doing the right thing every single day to move you closer towards your goals. You need to have a vision, and then you need to be making sure that the actions you're taking on a day-to-day basis are aligning with that vision and the things you want to achieve. Otherwise, you're not going to have inner peace. You're not, and that's where a lot of anxieties and lack of self-confidence comes from. Lack of confidence comes from is when you know that the actions you're taking aren't aligning with that future vision. And this is the same thing that I went through when I joined my first job in the insurance industry. Is I knew that I wanted something more than this, but my actions weren't aligning with that, and that's why so many people get depressed, in their 9 to 5 because they say they want to do something, but they never do it. So internally, the confidence is crushed and they don't have that inner peace and they don't have that momentum. I meet people all the time, coaches all the time saying, oh yeah, I really want to get into the online space. I don't want to be on the gym floor anymore and all this sort of stuff, but they don't take action. They come up with some bullshit of why they can't get started. They say that, now's not the right time. All the reasons that they say to their, their potential clients of why they need to get started on their fitness journey, they're doing the same thing with their business. They're saying, oh, now's not the right time, or they're sort of saying they're too busy to do this. It's bullshit, guys. It's bullshit. It's just a matter of priorities and making it work. So if you say that you want to do something, you need to go and do it. Otherwise, you're not going to have that inner peace. So how did I do this? I built systems, had a morning routine, locked in. Training is just like a non-negotiable, obviously. Non-negotiable days for different tasks like content, obviously like recording a video now. It's been the same thing. You need to set these non-negotiable days for doing the tasks that are required to get to where you want to be. It sounds simple, I know it does, but really have a sit down, think about this. Think about your vision, think about what are the things you need to do to get there, and then set those as non-negotiables. You need to make sure you're doing them every single week, week in, week out, because your habits are going to build your reality. It's as simple as that. If your habits don't reflect the habits of the person that has the goals that you want, you're not going to get to those goals. The habits make the goals, and you need to become the person required to get there. So just remember that, like, if you do have anxiety or low confidence, it comes when you know deep down that you're not doing the things that you need to be doing and that are required to get to where you want to be. So just please do think about that, because it's something that really crushed my confidence for a while. And if you're going through something like that right now, please do just realize that there is a solution there for you. So I came back from traveling and I was getting frustrated. For like another 6 months. I was on that mentorship. I wasn't making progress. After I came back, as I said, I was on that mentorship for a year, and 6 months that I was traveling, 6 months I wasn't. When I did come back, come back to the UK, and then I ended up going back to Thailand and then to Dubai. But I wasn't really traveling. I was there for like 2 months, each of those places. So I wasn't making progress, and I knew that at the end of the day, I made so much progress in that first year, and then in the second year, I didn't make much progress at all, which is fine. Obviously, I was traveling and there was different goals and stuff, but I knew something needed to change. There must be more out there to know, because I was implementing everything, and I knew there must be more out there. I thought that I knew everything, but at the end of the day, you think you know what the people ahead of you know, but you don't know what they know. You don't know what you don't know. So I knew it was time for me to switch things up, go with another mentor again. I needed like a bit more one-to-one again. It didn't necessarily need to be like one-to-one calls with someone all the time or something like that, but I needed one-to-one contact with someone frequently that had got to where I wanted to be, and done that recently. Like the mentorship that I joined, the person running it had achieved their goals like a few years back, whereas I needed someone that was like live and is still achieving their things like me now. I'm still growing my fitness business. I'm still working on it, and that's why I'm able to give my clients that I coach with their businesses live information and things that actually work in the industry, right? So I think it's important. I really do, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of mentors out there that do that, because they just focus on their new business with the mentoring, and they just sort of leave their fitness business. But I'll always keep my fitness business, purely because firstly I love doing it, and secondly so that the people that I'm mentoring, I can then help them with their journey. So it's a no-brainer for me, but I knew that I needed that again from my next mentor. So I invested in myself with a mentor, surrounded myself as well with people that were just playing the game better than me, people that were ahead of me. That's why I'm here in Dubai at the moment, and that's why I spent a lot of time abroad, not really spending too much time in the UK, spending time with people that are ahead of me, learning from them, because when you taste success, the comfort trap, it can appear, it definitely can, And that's sort of what happened to me in that second year. When I was back from traveling, I was sort of obviously earning this comfortable amount, but it was exactly that. It was comfortable. It wasn't really pushing me to the next level. And I learned this the hard way, guys, by staying in that plateau for a while, thinking I knew it all, but I didn't. I wasn't listening to my gut. I knew before that I needed a new mentor, and I was like, why am I listening to people that don't even know my problems and aren't, don't have the business that I do? It just didn't make sense to me, but I kept going with it because there were other people in the mentorship that are doing well. But at the end of the day, I needed to trust my gut. And then now I've realised that the people that were doing well in that mentorship were actually with other mentors, and that's why they were doing well. So I would, obviously no regrets, but if I'd listened to my gut earlier, I would have broken through that plateau. Because success, it doesn't make you safe. It really doesn't. It does make you vulnerable to the old versions of yourself. Just remember that. So if you are successful, if you've broken through a plateau and you have seen success, that's not a sign to take your foot off the gas. You need to keep going because you don't want that comfort trap to come back in. Your ego wants comfort at the end of the day, and the future self, the person that's achieved the things that you want to achieve, that person requires discipline, not the comfort that the ego is getting. So yeah, something important to remember there as well. So guys, final takeaways. I know this has been a longer video, a little bit of a ramble here, but if you've made it this far, hopefully this has been useful. I just want some final takeaways here and just remind you that you don't need a fancy setup. You need to become the person required to reach your goals. That's the main message here. You need to think the way that they think. You need to believe in it. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in the process. You need to believe in the things that that person believes in, and you need to act the way that they act. You need to have the same habits, and that's super, super important. You need to be consistent with that. And then also listen to your gut. If your gut's telling you to do something, I personally believe that is a very strong indicator that you should do it. Whether or not that comes across like spiritual, whatever, I don't care. Like every time that I've had a gut feeling about something and I felt like, I'm being told to do something here, like I've gone with it and it's paid off. And every time that I haven't, I've realized later on that I should have done that earlier. So listen to your gut. Do listen to your gut. This is exactly the same thing and this has happened to me as well, where people say that they need to quit their jobs, they're really not enjoying it, there's something better out there for them. They don't do it, and it's just soul crushing. You need to listen to your gut. Something out there is better. Something better is out there for you, and you just need to go and get it. Maybe, you're going to say something like this and voice your opinions to others, and they're going to talk you out of it, and then the societal norms are going to push you down, but just realize that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. Set your own standards as well. Don't listen to other people's standards. If you are taking advice from someone, just make sure they are in the position that you want to be in. Don't take advice from someone that you wouldn't swap places with. Someone said that to me ages ago, and it's very true. It's very, very true. And that's a very powerful thing to realize when you are taking advice from people. So set your own standards. Set your own standards and make sure those standards are in a line with the person that is required to get your goals. Don't take standards from someone else. Don't compare yourself to other people that are not where you want to be. You don't need a fancy setup. All you need is your phone, your story, and this relentless mindset. Show your journey, document it along the way, show the processes, and you're gonna have people watching you that are gonna eventually want to turn into clients if you're putting the right systems in place, guys. And if you've picked up something else from this as well, hopefully it is just to invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge. Knowledge is everything. Invest in a mentor, someone that's done what you want to do. Focus in on one niche, like I did. I did the fat loss. It doesn't necessarily have to be fat loss for you, but focusing on this, master the content for it, and just stay consistent. Like that's the number one thing. Build a life that you're actually proud to document as well, and show up for every single day that people are going to connect with. Make sure you're living the life that they want to live, and then your income's going to reflect that. Your income's going to reflect your character. your income's not just going to reflect like a skill or something like that you've got. It's going to reflect your character, your habits, and everything that we've spoken about today. And if you want to know how to build a 10K per month coaching business, I've already documented this in a video detailing every single thing I know and an overview of how you can get there, copy everything I did and get there even faster than I did. So yeah, go and watch that. I'm going to link it somewhere around this video. But other than that, guys, it has been a pleasure. I will see you in the next video.